Hey there, Heather Boyd-Wire here, and in honor of Montreal's 375th anniversary, I'm doing a little throwback video to when I used to sell on the street. I used to be a street vendor in Montreal in 1989, and I sold on the street for quite a few years, Prince Arthur, Old Montreal, Phillips Square. And when I first started selling on the street, I was making these very bizarre hand-painted buttons. And these buttons were made out of recycled pins, like little badges. And I used to, with my friend, when I lived in Toronto, we were hand painting them just for fun. And then when I decided to quit my job and move to Montreal, I said, hey, why don't I sell these buttons? So I got a permit and I started selling on the street, and I used to make about $3 a day. It was kind of ridiculous. But I persevered, and my work evolved, and then of course I met my husband and we started making wire, jewelry, and decorations, and then it all took off from there. But this is back to my roots, how I started, and I'm going to do a little DIY video to show you how to make these hand-painted buttons. So here's a couple of examples of the buttons. This is one that I painted. This is one that my friend painted. Actually, she's quite a well-known artist now in Germany. Her name is Suzanne Lawrence. I'll put a link below to some of her work. But she was working as a nanny at the time in Toronto, and we met at a drawing class at the AGO. And here's one that she painted, and she did even some little stitching on there. And another one that she did with, it's sort of like a scene from a painting, and it's actually painted on there with acrylic paint. And then at the time I was working at a tie factory, so this is actually made with recycled necktie fabric. And as the summer went on, I started experimenting with different things and actually covered some buttons, like the kind of buttons you saw on your clothes. So here's some with ties and some with little kitty cat prints. So to make the button, we're just going to take an old badge like that, and we're going to remove the back just with some pliers. Just be careful. You don't want to poke yourself, but you want to just kind of pry it up like that. Okay. And you can use a dull knife or a pair of pliers to do that. And we're going to keep the backing, and then we're going to actually peel up the paper as well. And that too, you're going to get a little knife or some pliers to peel that up. And we're going to remove that. And then we'll keep this as sort of a pattern, and we'll just spread out the edge a little bit. You can actually get machines to make your own badges. I had one before. It was a little bit finicky. It was like a manual one. You can get semi-automatic ones as well to make your own badges. And then what I'm going to do is get some fabric. This is actually some hand-painted silk, and that first summer I was actually doing quite a few of the buttons with painted silk. I did silk, I did cotton, all kinds of different ones. So you want to cut it a little bit bigger than this form. So we're just going to maybe about a 1/4 inch larger than that. If you have a really thick fabric, you might want to not do too much, but the silk is pretty thin, so we'll just make sure we have a full circle around there, and then we'll cut it out. Okay. And then you could either put some spray adhesive on there or just a little bit of glue stick, because you don't want it to move around on here. And then you're going to center that in the middle like that. So I heated up a bit of glue gun, and that's going to help just to get this to stick, because otherwise it's hard to get it to stay. So just put little amounts of glue gun, work your way around. And like I said, you can do this with a spray adhesive too, whatever works best for you. The glue stick doesn't seem to glue it to the back very well. So once you have it pulled to the back, you can take your pin form and we're just going to put it back in here. And just because the silk is quite thin, you should be able to pop it right back in. Like that. So there you have your little recycled hand-painted button. Thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you like it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more DIY videos. And if you'd like to check out my work on Instagram, you can check it out at Heather Boyd Wire. And if you want to share your creations, just hashtag or @ me on any social media platform.